Hey, I'm Cyclon, and today I want to share with you my League startup for 3.26 Secret of the Atlas. And this is an Icicle Mines of Fanning Deadeye. There were a few reasons I chose this build specifically, and I want to share those with you. However, first I need to make a disclaimer. This is a miner build, and this is a ZHP build. I specifically chose this based on my goals for this league. This build is not for everyone. If you don't enjoy the mining playstyle, even with the automation, you don't enjoy mines at all, I highly recommend looking at something like Snaking or at some Elemental Caster. Those look also really amazing, and they're gonna be really good for 3.26. If you do enjoy mining, but you don't want to be a ZHP build, Aeroplane is cooking a really good looking Exsanguinate free Trickster, and I also looked into it and it looked really promising. It just didn't fit exactly what I wanted to do. So this out of the way, now let's take a look at this miner build. Now my goal for 3.26 is getting into T17s as fast as possible, farm T17s, farm Pinnacles after I improve the build a little bit more, and then get into rarity farming. I think that's going to be really powerful, and as Hexblast is nerfed, Fanning will be the build that best replaces Hexblast for this spot, at least as far as I'm aware of. So this build is specifically made for this end goal in mind, killing bosses as fast as possible, killing Pinnacle bosses as fast as possible, and killing rarity farming maps, which are going to be including very deadly enemies. So the ZHP playstyle means I'm gonna die sometimes, I'm fully aware of this, I'm gonna be okay with this, and just gonna happen, and I need to just play more safely. Now for playing safely, we do have the mine playstyle as well. It allows you to do this. It is aware of its own weaknesses, so you throw your mines as far away from you as possible. You're gonna shoot off screen. You have hold damage like crazy, so you can freeze pretty much anything in the game. So you freeze enemies, you shoot far away, and hopefully nothing is gonna hit you. Now, sometimes you will die to a dot, to a boss AoE, to a boss skill that you didn't manage to dodge in time, or to a ghosted rare, or just a very tanky exile. Sometimes you will just die. It's gonna happen. Just keep that in mind when playing this build. The mine playstyle did got improved with the automation support. I've optimized it with the cooldown time, with the detonation sequence, so we don't overthrow or anything. It's gonna feel really solid. You're not gonna really notice that this is a mine build. The mines are detonating almost instantly. Even if you throw all your mines and you just stand still and throwing, you almost never have more than 10 mines on the ground, and they are already in the detonation sequence. In the patch notes, this build got one tiny nerf and 2 potential buffs. Now the potential buffs I have not included in this PoB, not in this guide, but I have included the nerf into the guide. The nerf this build happened is that the Elemental Mastery hits have a 25% chance to treat enemy monsters' elemental resistance values as inverted, is now 15%. With the change to 15%, there are some considerations we need to make, but we need to see how it feels in-game. Because it's now 15, we can now look into applying exposure again, applying minus resistances again, and it's gonna even out. So we already have a lot of penetration, but with this, penetration was never a downside. Now if we are using something like Frostbite, the Mastery is gonna be less DPS efficient. However, with it being 15%, it's gonna overall be a DPS increase considering using something like Frostbite or applying exposure yourself with Frostbomb or Gloves implicit. That said, Punishment is also a really good option and we need to see how it feels. Just be aware of this, I have not allocated a mastery, instead I've added it to the notes section based on its new value. Also look in the configuration, you see that there is 20% more damage. This is from a 20% chance to detonate mines again, meaning that just out of 10 mines we throw, 2 mines will detonate again and do the damage again. This is 2 throws, which you can do in a matter of a second. So this is why I said 20%. If you don't deem it appropriate, you don't deem it reasonable number of increase, then remove the 20 and look at your damage without it. Also in general, if the config is not satisfying to what you think is realistic, change it, look at the damage without it, and give me feedback. I can always adjust this. The potential buffs are Rune Grafts and Mercenaries, but we need to see again how the Rune Grafts are, how the Mercenaries are, before I can say that this is a definite buff. Now there is one more question before we're going to be taking a look at this build specifically, and that is, why am I not a Saboteur? The reason I'm not a Saboteur and the reason I'm not going to be using the Nemesis node despite Icicle Mines are projected it could theoretically return is as following. It doesn't work. You have a 50% chance for your projectile return. If it returns, it can deal its damage again. That said, we need to keep in mind that Icicle Mines cannot shotgun, so we will in most gain double damage from that. This means that overall this node will be 50% more damage if it has a 50% chance to return. However, one big issue of this is how Icicle Mines behave. So I'm here with a Nemesis and I'm going to showcase this. If I equip this Nemesis and I'm going to throw my mine, you can see that the mines are not returning. The reason for that is that Icicle Mines have a very short projectile lifespan. It's just burly enough that they can go outwards, and it was never meant to consider in that it needs to return. So if we are throwing them close to a wall, you will see that they can return if they proc on the wall, but this is only if they hit the wall. So their traveling ends early and then they will return instead of disappear. You would need a hefty investment into projectile speed, which I'm going to showcase with the Screw Rain, giving me 80% projectile speed. So now if I throw a mine, you will see that they do barely return. There's barely any overlap at the mines, which means that we need at least 80% projectile speed to actually guarantee that the mines, if they return, to hit the same enemy they originated from. And in the end, all this means is you're gonna be needing either a Misted Simplex Amulet or the Focus Amulet, or you're gonna need like 16 projectile speed tattoos. And this is in no way a reasonable amount because you're gonna sacrifice all your entire dexterity node. So then you need to fix dexterity on your build. And I'd rather just be on a Deadeye, gain like 25 to 30% more damage from Farshot, gain Tailwind, gain Focal Point, and then couldn't use either +1 chain or Avidity. I just like that way more than going on a Saboteur. Deadeye has just so many amazing nodes, and we can level with Explosive Concoction, which is an amazing leveling skill. I wanted to originally go over every single item and how it increases our damage. Instead, I'm gonna be very short about this, and if anything is unclear and you want like further information on how we scale or why we use specific items, feel free to ask me. You can ask me on Twitch. I will be streaming every day to launch and after launch. You can ask me in the comment section or on Discord. I will try to explain why we use specific items if their use is not clear. So for Icicle Mines, to swap out of e.conc into Icicle Mines, the minimum items needed are 3 uniques. You want a Bitter Dream, because Bitter Dream with Icicle Mines results in all the damage you need to get into T16s. You want a Heat Shiver, because Heat Shiver is a massive damage increase. And you want Mute Wind Boots, because they're gonna be base damage, and they're gonna be a massive amount of hit chance. And these 3 items combined are gonna get you easily into T16s, or able to start farming whatever you want to farm with Icicle Mines, until you have the proper setup to approach these 17s. So those 3 are minimum needed items to swap out of e.conc and into Icicle Mines. I've made it very detailed in the PoB. If it's still not detailed enough and you still have questions, again, feel free to just ask. Once you're on Icicle Mines, every single gear spot is either meant to fix our resistance so we had kept resistances, or give us damage. And I really mean it, that everything is meant to give us damage. The core concept of our damage is that we are using a Dissolution of the Flesh, meaning we have more life, we have no energy shield, and we reserve our life instead of taking damage from it. This allows us to use Rathpit's Globe. Rathpit's Globes now give us spell crit and spell damage for our life, so our life is actually damage. Still gonna have a basic survivability with this, but mainly our life is damage. then can scale this life further into damage, or we can scale this life further by using a Shroud of the Lightless, giving us penetration, max life, and the jewels can give us flat life and crit multi or flat damage. So we have Abyss jewels which give us a massive amount of damage, body armor, instead of using it to gain a little bit of survivability, we gain a massive amount of damage. And because we use this, we can use March of the Legion, which gives us a massive amount of gem levels, which is even better than an Empower. So we gain even more flat damage on our Icicle Mines of Fanning, because those boots just give us so many levels and are easily corruptible, because Icicle Mines has like 4 or 5 implicits that you can benefit from and gain more levels from the corruption mod pool. So everything in this build is just meant to get us either life, which is damage, which is damage, or any scaling factor that also gives us damage. And that's really all there is to this build. It's just damage. We have the mere minimum amount of survivability, we have a mine playstyle and freeze to survive, we need to understand the bosses, and then we're gonna be all in on damage and we're gonna be nuking everything. Now in this video, one thing I still need to mention, you see me using Tamings. Tamings are fine, but they're likely gonna be expensive. If they are not expensive, they're a good option. If they are, Mark of the Shaper and an Elder Influenced Ring are gonna be slightly worse, but still good enough. So this is what I'm recommending in the PoB, because I'm assuming Tamings are gonna be expensive. The video really doesn't have to be longer than it has to be. But again, if anything is unclear, feel free to message me and I will try to answer. And if you enjoyed this video, I would highly appreciate a thumbs up and a comment on the video. It helps the algorithm, it helps this video reach for people that it would be interesting for. Being said, have a wonderful day. Goodbye.